be sharing with you guys on tonight. I'm so excited for those 10 people who'll be winning a free book and a life coach consultation. Excited, excited, excited. So excited. One more minute and I promise we will get started. All right, and as you come in, if you see me, just a forewarning, if you see me looking up or if you see me looking to the side, I'm working with 3 different screens right now so that I'm able to broadcast this live. And so that you're able to see what I'm doing, see my notes and everything. I am a teacher, and I myself as a learner, you have visual learners, you have learners that need to hear, you have learners that have to actually look at it, move their hands. I am neither one of those. I have to have everything. So I need to be able to read the instructions. I need to be able to hear what it is you're saying, and I need to be able to see what it is that you're doing and be able to do it myself. So I need all 3 in order to be successful. I need all the help. Okay. And so I think that God works in the same way whenever he's trying to teach us something, whenever he really wants to get our attention and he's trying to show us something. Right at the beginning of class, teachers use attention getters. And isn't it like God always trying to get our attention to make sure that we hear clearly what it is he's trying to say, make sure that we're able to comprehend what it is that he's doing. Right. And so he wants us to read the word being our instructions. He wants us to read the word, right? He wants us to be able to hear what he's saying. He wants us to be able to see what it is that he's doing. And he wants us to move and be a part and move our hands, move our feet, and be diligent in doing so, right? Okay, so I am going to go ahead and get started. Excited, excited, excited. All right, so welcome to session 1 of Daybreakers live sessions. All right, I'll be doing this every Friday for the next few Fridays at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time from April 24th, being today, to May 15th. All right, what is the point of this whole Daybreakers live sessions? All right, I have recently published a book called Daybreakers. Okay, and so the point of these sessions is to, 1, make you aware of the book, 2, to be able to explain to you why it is that I wrote the book and what message it is that I'm trying to give, that I'm trying to share with you all within the book. So like I said, the book is Daybreakers. And if you didn't know, I did say that I would be giving out free books to 10 blessed people, not 10 lucky people, 10 blessed people. In order to be one of those people, you do have to at least try to come to every session, and you need to interact. I'm a teacher who loves interaction. I'm not the type to sit there and just talk all the time. I ask questions. I love examples. I love for people to relate what I'm talking about to what they've been through or what they're going through. I like for people to share their experiences with me. It keeps you interested. It keeps you encouraged, and it doesn't leave people in the dark about what's going on. The message is able to get through, right? He told Habakkuk to write the vision and make it plain. And so I've written it down and I want to make it plain to you. All right. So without further ado, and I'm going to say it again, if you're just coming in, please just go ahead and share the video so that others are able to join in. All right. So let's get started with those of you that are here. Hey. That is my lovely book cover that you see to the right of the screen. All right, and here's a bit of information about what it is we are doing on tonight. So you'll meet the author. I know some of you already know me. Some of you know me, but you don't know much about me. We've recently met each other, or you've met me in passing, or you have recently decided to follow me because we have mutual friends. Okay, so you'll learn a little bit about me. I'll define what a day breaker is and really get down to the point of what it is I'm talking about. Why did I call the book Day Breakers? What is it? What are we doing? What are we breaking? Why are we breaking it? How do we break it? And then we'll strategize, right? I will go over technique number 1 that I mentioned in my book on tonight. All right, is everybody good? And everybody ready to go? Did everybody bring their paper and their pen or their notebook? Everybody bring their Bible or their Bible app, YouVersion on your phone. All right, I need you to have that handy. Make sure you have all your materials before we begin, before we dig in. All right, so just a little bit about myself. My name is Travé Nicole Hunter, and I am an author, an artist, and a worshiper. I think a worshiper pretty much entails everything that I am and everything that I do. And we're all worshipers, right? We're all made to worship him. All right. The book that I'm talking about tonight is Daybreakers, which was released in 2020. I do have other books available, all available on Amazon.com, as well as my website that you see at the bottom of the screen, travenicole.life. I recently published a book called License to Carry at the end of last year. I have a book called Dear Daughter that is out about women finding their purpose in God. Let me go back to License to Carry. License to Carry, talking about what it is that God has blessed us with, the season he has anointed us for, the glory that he has called us to carry, right? He charges us in the Bible to go forth and make disciples out of the nations, to share the gospel, to build each other up, to edify each other, to edify the kingdom. All right. And then my first ever book that I published is called These Words, which is pretty much about the word of God, spoken, read, manifested. Okay. I am also a certified life coach. Okay, that is why you'll be able to get a free consultation. That consultation will be with me. My life coaching program is called Exhale and Excel. All right, I'm able to cover a lot of things within that, but I specifically chose to broadcast these specific topics that I can really hit on and touch on just because of the career field that I am in. But when it comes to consultations, we would meet. We talk about yourself. We talk about what the issue is, what it is that you're needing help with, and we go from there. So I'm not just specifically focusing on these things, but these are the things that I wanted to broadcast out there. And so that would be performance anxiety, stress management, personal development, and purposeful planning. All right. And then you can contact me through Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You can follow me on Twitter, or you can email me at travé.nicole@gmail.com. If you are just joining in, hey, Keita. If you are just joining in, we are diving into our session, our Daybreakers live sessions. We have just began a few minutes ago. Excuse me for all the noise going on. We have just started a few minutes ago. We just met the author, and now we are about to dig in. So once again, I hope that you've been prepared. You brought your materials, your pen, your paper, your Bible, your notebook, whatever it is you need to be successful. I hope that you've brought all of that along. As you come in, please go ahead and click the share button so that others are able to join in on the session, so that everyone has an opportunity. Don't be selfish. Let everyone have the opportunity to win a free book. I promise you won't be disappointed. All right, so tuning back in, we have just met the author. Okay, and now we're about to dig into defining a daybreaker. What is a daybreaker? All right, so daybreakers. Okay, daybreakers are daybreakers on the daily. All right, that is why it's called daybreaker. And then more so, just the fact that there's a million things that we go through during the day. There's a million thoughts that run through our mind on the day. There's a million things that come out of our mouths throughout the day. There's all kinds of interactions that we have with people, with the environment, with the atmosphere that we don't even realize, that we don't even know on the daily. And so when it comes to being a day breaker, I've listed some definitions over here on the right side of the screen so that you guys are able to better understand what it is the book is talking about. What is a day breaker? What are we breaking? How do we break it? All right, so let's go ahead and dive in. So first and foremost, a breaker. I'm sure all of you on here have heard of a breaker and you've used it in several different kinds of ways. The first meaning that comes up when you look up the word day breaker is a person or thing that breaks something. And I'll say again that you'll have to forgive me because I'm using 3 screens so that I'm able to show you guys everything. And I'm looking up because that is where I have the PowerPoint. So a breaker is a person or thing that breaks something. So when it comes to breaking, that means we are dismantling, we're disarming, we're separating, we're interrupting some things. Okay, there are tons of things that, like I said, we go through, that I've been through. We go through grief, okay? We go through heartache. We go through bouts of anger from people that cause us, that can say one thing and cause us to just snap off. People that can do one thing that offends us, right? We want to break chains off of our lives. We want to break generational curses. We want to break out of stagnation. We want to break out of disease and illnesses and ailments. We want to break out of our circumstances. Okay, we want to break out of the emotions and the feelings and the attitudes and the thoughts that seem to cloud our mind on the daily. Okay, and just moving on, the second definition that you'll see when you look up the word breaker is a heavy sea wave that breaks into white foam on the shore. So given this this definition, we're transforming, we're shifting, and we're morphing. When you think about water, when it comes to breaking things, something new is being birthed whenever water breaks. Something has been in a process. It's been through it's going through a transformation. Like I said, it's going through metamorphosis. Okay, it's shifting. Yes, be well. It is shifting. And so when you think about it, you're in the process, and you were called. Think about babies. Okay, so babies have already gone through a process, right? They're in the womb, average 9 months, right? So they're already going through a process of growth. And even in that, whenever a baby is first conceived, it's an egg, right? So the egg has to be fertilized. Okay, first it's called one thing, an embryo. Okay, a few weeks go by and it's called a fetus. All right, and that baby is a fetus before it comes through the womb, out of the womb, and now it's a baby. And as you continue to go through processes and you continue to grow and you can continue to mature, you're not going to stay being called a baby. Eventually, you're going to be called a child. Eventually, you're going to be called a teenager. Eventually, you're going to be called an adult. Eventually, you're going to be called an elder. Right. And so there's this process, this lifelong process that we're going to go through. But if we focus specifically on the water breaking, you're a fetus, the water breaks, you come out. Okay. You don't immediately come out and transform and shift and more. Before things change, before there's a new birth, you still have to go through that birth canal in order to come out. Right. And so we're changing, we're transforming, we're going through a process, and we have to travel the path. We have to walk the path that he set out before us because he's ordered our steps, right? Your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. I'm here standing. I've gone through the process to get to where I am right now. Lord, I'm ready. Lord, go ahead and lead me. He's ordered our steps. So now we have to get walking. If you think about water breaking, once again, not just when we're going through a birth, but think about the Israelites when the water had to break open for them, right? They were already delivered out of slavery, which they had spent years in. They spent years in slavery. That was the process. But then what happened when they got to the Red Sea? They still had to walk through the birth canal in order to get to the other side and become something new, experience something new, right? Because here, standing at the Red Sea, they just come out of slavery. So once they were called slaves, and then when they go through the birth canal, they walk the path on dry land. Now they're living in freedom. Okay, so they've gone from slavery to freedom. Once again, here's another example. When you talk about Elisha, after receiving Elijah's mantle, okay, he had to go through a process where he was walking with Elijah, he was watching Elijah, he was following him, right? And then he had to watch Elijah before he received the mantle, before he walked into a new thing, before he started what God had purpose for him to start, right? He went through the process of learning. And then they told him, or Elijah told him, he had to see him actually be taken away, carried on into glory before he was able to receive the mantle. And once he received the mantle, what happened? He was standing before water just like the Israelites were. And then once again, the water breaks open, and now he's walking on dry land, and he starts a new thing. He's shifted into something else. So that's when we get to our transforming, our shifting, our morphing, metamorphosis. The most basic example, talking about a caterpillar and going into a cocoon and then becoming a butterfly. So you're transforming, you're morphing, you're shifting, because you have to go from being stuck. You have to go from being stagnant on one side to free on the other side, or stranded with no way, to having a pathway to the promise. Right? And so let's, I don't want to jump ahead of myself. So let's look at the next thing. So the next definition says an electrical switch designed to protect an electrical circuit from damage caused by excess current from an overload or short circuit to interrupt current flow after a fault is detected. And I've tried to highlight or bold and put quotes around certain words that I wanted to focus on. Okay. But so if you think about an electrical switch, I'm going to read this in ad lib, designed to protect, right, an electrical circuit from damage, which may be caused by circumstance, which may be caused by generational curses, which may be caused by cycles that you feel like you're stuck in, caused by excess current, things that keep happening over and over and over again to you. Where even when you're doing the right thing, even when you're doing good, somehow you feel like, okay, I'm doing good. So what's next? What's about to happen? And you're expecting something negative to come your way. You're expecting a storm to hit. And the thing is, it holds us back from being able to shift, to move, to transform, because we think that if we go ahead and do this, then something bad is going to happen to me. The enemy is automatically going to attack me, and I don't want that to happen. I don't want to go through that. So let me just stand. Let me stay back here. Let me not move. Let me not progress. Let me not move forward. When that's not what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be confident in him, right? And so we're this electrical switch, okay? We're trying to protect the circuit from damage caused by these circumstances and these cycles, from an overload, from overwhelming feelings, from stress, from pressures of the world, or short circuits. Now, I'm looking at some of my people on here that are watching these short circuits. I have them. I know we all have them. You know what a short circuit is? It's sort of like a temper tantrum. Adults throw temper tantrums too. We do, not just kids. Those people that say one thing to you, those people that just, you feel like y'all use the term irk my soul. Those people that do things and say things that just irk your soul. We have a short circuit if that happens to us. Right. And so another thing is to interrupt the current flow after a fault is detected, and that fault being a breach or a crack. So that would be those little tiny things that people say and do that get to us. Okay. Somebody using an example. Keita, yes. Right. So but we all go through it. And so breaches and cracks, those little tiny things and words, letting toxic and poisonous things in, because it causes us to feel some kind of way, and some stuff starts shifting on the inside in a bad way, though, not in a good way, in a bad way. And I know that all of this that I'm saying is not that simple, because things do happen. They do. Like I said, the Israelites went through years of slavery. Okay, we all have to go through in order to get where it is we need to be. I heard somebody say that it's not about necessarily about you going through, focusing on you going through, but it's how you go through it. It's how you deal with it. We could all be in the same place at the same time, and have the same thing happen to us, the same thing said to us, but our experiences, you could be standing right next to me, but our experiences are not going to be the same because we are not on the same level when it comes to our confidence in God and when it comes to our past experiences that we've had when we weren't together. But you know what? When we're in that experience, because we've had different past experiences and because we're not on the same level when it comes to our relationship with God, in our attitude towards him, in our confidence in him, I can lean on you or you can lean on me and we can make it through together. We can break the day together, which is what we're all doing right now here on this Facebook Live, right? So complications happen, okay? When you're going through, if you've been pregnant, okay, if you've heard of complications happening, or if you experience complications yourself whenever you're giving birth, or if it's not even time for you to give birth yet, but you start having complications, okay? Complications happen in the process. They happen. We call them complications, but remember, okay, things may not be sent by God. The enemy may just be fighting you or attacking you. But we have to remember that we shouldn't give up on God in it, and we shouldn't give up on ourselves, right? Because every single thing that God does, every single thing that he orchestrates, every single thing that he allows to happen, it happens. He does it. It's done. It's said, decent and in order, no matter what the situation or the circumstance is. Trust is necessary. Faith is necessary. Okay, to be a breaker, you have to have confidence and you got to have faith. All right. So, anybody have any questions? Any comments so far? We're just getting started. We are just getting started. All right. And like I said, the comments may be delayed. So, if I don't respond to you right away, that is why. All right. So, we learned what a breaker is. How do we break? Okay, we break things physically with our fist, with our teeth, with our feet, with tools, with hammers, with sledgehammers, with axes. You can find Daybreakers on Amazon or on my website, Travé.Nicole, Travé.Nicole.life. So back to what I was saying, mentally, and I will repost how to find everything after we finish today. All right. So physically, we're breaking things with fists, with our teeth, with our feet, with tools. Okay. Mentally, we break things, okay, by preparing and by agreeing. Okay. And the example that I'm using is if you've ever been a part of a team, or you've ever been to a game, you've seen the sports team together, right? They're making a game plan when they call the timeout or before the game begins. They're making a game plan for what they're going to do. They're talking about what play they're going to use. And at the end, what do? They do something in order to say that they agree with each other. Whether it's a 1, 2, 3 break, 1, 2, 3 believe, 1, 2, 3 something. It's something that they say that leaves a statement or leads us to believe that they're in agreement with whatever the plan is that they came up with whenever they were in the huddle, whenever they were in the circle. So mentally, we break things by preparing and agreeing. Okay, we make a game plan, then we all agree. Okay, spiritually, we break things through faith, prayer, and fasting. All right. Jesus told the disciples who could not heal the man's son, "Oh, ye of little faith." And when they asked why they couldn't heal him, why they couldn't deliver the demon out of him, he said, "This kind only comes out by prayer and fasting." All right. So faith, your faith is important. Okay. Your prayer is important. Fasting is important. And praise and worship is important. Paul and Silas in prison, they were praying, they were praising, they were worshiping, and they broke some things down. The very foundation of the prison shook and was broken. The prison doors were broken open. The chains were broken off of them. Okay. Someone experienced a breakthrough. The prison guard experienced a breakthrough, as well as his family. They were delivered. They were set free. They were saved. They were now believers. Okay. So that's what is a daybreaker? How do we break? Why do we break? Okay. We want to break out of things. We want to be free, and we want to be able to spread the gospel, to spread the love of God. Okay, to spread by building up and gaining more people, by making more disciples, right? Okay, I'm using Micah 2:13. The Amplified Version says, the breaker, the Messiah who opens the way, the waymaker, shall go up before them. He's already gone up before us. He died for us. He went to the cross for us, and it liberated us. So liberating them, it caused us to be free. So once again, to be free and to spread the knowledge of that freedom, because people don't know. They don't understand it. All right. They will break out of whatever mentality they've been in, of the disbelief that they've been in, of the depression they've been in, of the anxiety that they've been in, and they will pass through the gate. They'll pass through the gate, leave out the prison doors, and they will go out. Okay, so their king goes on before them. Once you get out, once you're free, you're not walking alone. He goes out before you. Once again, he orders our steps. Okay, and he is at our head, just like he did for the Israelites, with a cloud by day and fire by night. All right, are we all good? I want to keep checking on you. I told you I like interaction. So, okay, everybody understand what a daybreaker is, because we're about to get into some strategy. We're about to strategize. All right, so we've met the author. We've defined a daybreaker, and now we're going to strategize. We're going to go over the first technique that I mentioned in my book, Daybreaker. All right. I hope you're still with me. I hope you're still following along. All right. So the first technique that I talk about in my book is to set your clothes out the night before. Okay. And if you're looking at this picture on this screen, you may have an idea of what it is. You may have an idea of what it is that I'm going to talk about, an idea of it. Okay. But I don't think you know. You may know. I don't know if you know. All right. So let's go ahead and talk. Talk it out. All right. So setting your clothes out the night before is the first chapter in my book. It's the first technique that we're going to talk about on tonight. All right. And the scripture that I use, that I base this chapter off of, is Ephesians 6:10-20, which does talk about having the full armor of God. Okay. But I'm going to break down that whole portion. All right. And I'm going to first read a quote from my book. Okay. So it says, detoxification is the process of ridding the body of toxins or unhealthy substances, waste. Because our day may not have been eventful, we fail to consider the fact that we may have taken in the things and people of our day. You don't have to wear their clothes or walk in their shoes or bring something home from them to carry an outside influencer into your home. And I'm going to stop right there, because a lot of people talk about, don't let everybody into your house. And which is true. Your house is your sanctuary. Hopefully your house is your sanctuary. That is where you go at the end of the day to rest, is where you come to meet and abide and dwell with your family. Right. And so we don't want anyone, an outside influencer or an uninvited guest, to be coming into our homes. Hey, we don't want someone breaking into the place that we're supposed to feel safe. Right. Okay. But do know, okay, this is our physical home here, okay, in the world, but we house a spirit inside of this flesh. Okay. So bringing an outside influencer into your house is just like bringing an outside influencer into this house. Our bodies are temples, right? So that is what the word says. So we have to be mindful of, starting back at, we have a massive internal storage device called the mind that stores information that you don't even remember seeing, hearing, or agreeing with throughout your day. It's important to take time to detox from your day in order to properly prepare for the next. Many people spend time, energy, and money creating diet plans to detox from bad eating habits. Great. You've gotten rid of toxic things that you put inside of your body, but what about the toxic things you put inside of your ears? What about the toxic things that are consuming your mind? How do you go about a spiritual detox? How do you go about getting those things out of your minds? There have been nights where I have set up personally and cannot get certain things off of my mind. I can't sleep because I can't get certain things off of my mind, right? And so how do we go about getting rid of those things? How do we go about being able to focus? How do we go about leaving things that have happened in the past, forgiving and leaving it alone, letting it go and letting God take control? How do we go about doing that? All right, so that is what we're going to talk about now. That's what we're going to dive into. All right. And so diving into the scripture. Okay, I'll make sure I didn't get ahead of myself. Okay, so why a spiritual detox? Okay, Ephesians 6:12 says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Okay, if you research the definition of a principality is a state ruled by a prince, the position or authority of a prince or chief ruler, sovereignty, supreme power, right? So that is what a principality is. So my charge to you is, and I want you to understand what it is that I'm saying, so I'm going to give you an example in a minute. What do you do whenever your mind is a principality? Okay, we talk about principalities being evil and wicked things in high places, right? Because that's what the world says. Okay, isn't your mind in the highest place of your body? Isn't it the thing that controls the body, the movement, controls when you speak, controls when you act, controls when you think? Isn't the mind just that, right? So what do you do when your mind becomes a principality? How does your mind become a principality? Well, like I said, the brain controls the body. Okay. But what happens when there's nerve damage? What happens when you become paralyzed? What happens when the nerve impulses are not sent out from the brain through the spinal cord in order to cause you to move, in order to cause you to react, in order to cause you to think? Right? When the brain will always be the command center. It'll always be what it's supposed to be and be where it's supposed to be. But once that happens, once you lose control, once it loses control, what do? Okay. And you can think about not just physically being paralyzed, but when things happen, we sort of go through this paralysis. When we're experiencing grief, we go through paralysis. We don't want to do anything. We don't want to talk to anybody. And so at that moment, depression becomes the principality that has controlled our mind now. Anxiety becomes the principality that controls our mind now. Okay. So think about it this way. If you think about a police command center, right? This is where dispatch is. So whenever you call 911, okay, dispatch sends out an ambulance. They send out the police officers. They send out firefighters if they need to. They send out the first responders. Okay, so but what happens when someone comes in and they take over the command center? They take over dispatch. What can you do? There's no first responders going out. There's no ambulances going out. That command center is not sending anybody out when someone takes command of it, when someone takes control of it. Okay. And so that is what it's like when we're depressed, when we have bouts of anxiety. There's no help being sent out. There's no plan being sent out. We tend to do what? Give up. We lose confidence in ourselves. We begin to have low self-esteem. Okay, so what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? All right. So I told you that I specialize one of the things for life coaching and performance anxiety. Okay, test anxiety is a form of performance anxiety. Okay, and I hear about test anxiety all of the time, right? It's like I said, I'm a teacher. Okay, but I was reminded not too long ago. Whenever I was going through something. Hey, whenever I received some bad news, I was reminded about test anxiety and how I'm working so hard to help people and to help my students overcome test anxiety. Okay. And faith, our faith is tested. Why is our faith tested? Because it produces patience, as the word says. It produces perseverance. And so whenever we're not working our faith in those times of trouble or when we're challenged, we're going through test anxiety. Okay. People may know the information on the test, but when you get to the test, sometimes you just forget everything, right? We know God. We know who he is. We know what he can do for us, We know he's a provider. We know he's a healer. We know he's a waymaker, a promise keeper. We know who he is. But when our faith is tested, don't we forget everything we know about God and who he is and what he can do goes out the window. And so I was reminded about the things that I do to help people that have test anxiety, because I had test anxiety myself whenever my faith was tested. And so I'm going to share with you these three strategies, okay, that I use for my students and that I use myself now after I was reminded. Sometimes we need a reminder. Sometimes we preach real good. We preach a good word that we can't even follow ourselves, or we talk to people about things that they do that they should change, but we don't even realize when we're doing it ourselves. Okay, but those three strategies are: one, taking out the trash, performing a brain dump. Okay, some of you may, especially if you're in education, you may have heard of that. We'll talk about that. Staying armored up, such as Ephesians 6:10 tells us to do. And then staying in the present, such as Psalm 91 tells us. And so let's just hit the ground running. All right. So the first thing being a brain dump. Okay, and I've based this on Matthew 11:30, which says, "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." And then 1 Peter 5:7 says, "Cast all your care, cast all your anxiety on him because he cares for you." So part one of the brain dump, let me explain to you what I do in my classroom first so that you'll better understand. Okay, we do what's called a brain dump. All right, and there's three parts to it that I've made in my classroom. So I do things a little bit differently than everyone else. Okay, part one is unloading. Okay, so when it comes to unloading in the classroom, okay, you come in and for the warm-up, right before the test, right before we go over anything and review anything, you write down every single thing that is inside of your mind. So when it comes to you, okay, and you're going through something or something happens, okay, or you need to refocus on God, you're writing down every single thing that is in your mind, whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's positive, whether it's negative, whether it's a person, whether it's a circumstance or a thing. You're writing down every single thing that is in your mind. Okay, now if you see those two pictures on the side, okay, you can put the bad things in the trash can because you don't want to deal with those things anymore. It's caused you too much stress. It's caused you too much trouble. You don't want to stay in this cycle. You throw those things in the trash can. Now, the recycling bin is there for the positive things, because in your reflection, you want to think about, well, what things have happened that have caused me good? What things have happened? Or who have I been around? What have I been doing? What have I been eating? What have I been listening to that have caused me to feel good? That have caused me to really be able to access the joy that I've been given? That have really helped me to remain happy, to remain at peace? Put those things in the recycling bin because you want to come back and use those things again. All right. And so I said, right, you're either writing these things down, which I have them write in the classroom, or you're speaking them, which I'll have them share. So writing them down could look like you're actually writing it on a piece of paper. I've been in a session with a group of people before where we wrote down all the things that concerned us on a piece of paper. Then what did we do? We threw it in the trash. We balled it up. We all stood up. The count of three, we threw the paper as hard as we could. And I threw everyone's paper in the trash. We let it go. Okay, if you physically have to do that in order for yourself, however you need to do, whatever you need to do, you got to do it. If you physically need to do it instead of just speaking it, then do it. Okay, and then how does it look whenever you're speaking it? All right, you actually say it. God, I lay this at your feet. I lay my anxiety at your feet. I lay my depression at your feet. I lay my anger at your feet. I lay it all down. You said, cast your cares, cast all of my cares on you. And so that is what I'm going to do. That is what I'm doing. God, I lay it before you. I trust you. I have faith in you that you're going to work it out for me. That if I give my problems to you, your yoke is easy and your burdens are light. All right. You actually speak that thing out. Okay. Speaking is still a form of physically, performing an action. Okay, you're still doing something. Okay, you're not just sitting there with the thoughts on your mind thinking, oh, woe is me, God, please help me. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. Tell them what it is. Talk to them. Write it out. Speak it out. Okay, part two of the brain dump is a refill. So you dumped everything out of your mind. All right, you got it all out. Now you need to remind yourself, okay, I got this out. I totally trust him now. I remember that God is a provider. Okay. He will provide everything that I need according to his riches and glory. I know that the name of the Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run in and they are safe. Okay. Now I have these scriptures because they're my favorite scriptures. Okay. They that wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. I have these, but you may need to make a bank whenever you're doing this. Okay, before you perform a brain dump. So what you could do, and something I have done, which has helped me, is actually go and research scriptures for healing. What are some scriptures for healing? Write that down. Okay, what are some scriptures for anxiety? Write that down. What are some scriptures for if I'm in lack? Write that down. So when you do the part 2 where you're refilling, grab your bank, your notes that you wrote down, and start reading them. Find the thing that you need to replace what it is that you had buried inside of your mind that you just got out, and refill your tank. Okay, and you can go back over that the stuff that's in that recycling bin. Okay, and then worshiping is another way to refill, to refocus on God and who he is and what he can do and who he says that you are, which is another important part of that, which we'll get to that in a minute for part 3. But worshiping him, throw on that worship music. And for me, sometimes it's just me singing. I sing and pray or sing my prayers. If you're a worshiper, you understand. If you're a singer, you understand. If you're a poet or musician, you understand. Okay, do that. Do what you need to do. Part 3 is optional. Okay, so when it comes to the test, of course, part 2, we're actually reviewing the material they need to know before the test. Part 3, I have them bet on themselves. So you go up, I'm going to pass the test. Okay, and we may write our goals. I made a B this time, so I'm writing my name under the 90 category. I'm writing my name under the 100 category. I failed the test last time, so I'm writing my name under the 70 category because I may not be there yet, but I'm going to get there because we make realistic goals. Okay, and the realistic thing with God is that he can do anything. With him, all things are possible. And so the goal that's realistic for us is that we're already overcomers. We have the victory, right? So you need to remind yourself, bet on yourself now. Okay, this is a situation that's going on. I gave it all to him. Now I know that I'm an overcomer. And you got to tell yourself, I know I'm an overcomer. I know that I'm an achiever. I know I have the victory in him. I know that no weapon formed against me shall prosper. You're just reminding yourself. And guess what? Rejoice. Matthew 5:12 says, rejoice. You're rejoicing. You're praising him before you even see your way out, before you even see yourself being healed, before you even see that breakthrough happening, before you even see yourself getting what it is that you need him and you prayed for him to provide for you. Okay, and then self-talk is also a part of that. So telling yourself, reminding yourself who you are. Greater is he that is in me than he that is in the world. I will not be conformed to the way of the world, but I will be renewed by the I will be transformed by the renewing of my mind. Okay, I have grace and mercy granted to me. Jesus died on the cross for my sins, so I will walk in freedom because I am free. Okay, there is therefore no condemnation for those that are in Christ Jesus. Remind yourself. Okay, use the word as a weapon. That's exactly what it is. All right. So anybody have any questions so far? I know I've said a lot. I'm going over a lot. All right. If you have a question or comment, just go ahead and put it down in the comment section and I'll be able to see it. All right. The next part 2 of our strategy is staying armored up. Okay. And so in order to stand against the enemy, you have to be dressed. Okay? And you have to have your clothes ready to go. Only after that can you stand. And when you do stand, you have to be confident and unwavering. You have to stand firm then, like the word says. So Ephesians 6:10 through 11 and 13 through 14 says, finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might. Put on the whole armor of God that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Therefore, put on the full armor of God so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you've done everything to stand firm. So that means after you put the whole armor on, not pieces of it, after you have done everything to stand, what does it say you need to do to stand? It says you need to put on the full armor of God to be able to stand against the enemy. So you need to put on the full armor of God in order to stand your ground. After you've put it on, stand with confidence, knowing that you have it on. And so you're protected, and not just from the enemy physically coming to attack you, but you're protected from yourself. Okay. Generally, putting on the whole armor of God is associated with, at least I've heard so much, that it's associated with the things you do at the beginning of your day. But that's just not true. The Bible doesn't say when you wake up in the morning, put on the full armor of God. You are to stay dressed. You are to stay armored up, like my title says, and you are to stay ready. Why? Because it seems like for most of us, I don't know if you've experienced this, but I have a few times. It seems that for most of us, the times whenever we are attacked, the times when the enemy comes is in the middle of the night. Not during the day, not that you're not attacked during the day, but you're attacked in the middle of the night. This is when people go through sleep deprivation, when people are going through insomnia, when people are going through temptation to do things they shouldn't be doing during that time in the midnight hour. All right. This is when people are having night fares that people wake up from after they're attacked or have a scary dream, and they say, oh, it was just a nightmare, and then the dream keeps happening over and over again every night. I don't know why I keep having the same dream. Night fares, okay, warfare that's happening at night when you're asleep. Okay, you have to pray before you go to bed. Okay, you have to stay armored up. You have to remind yourself that you have it on. Okay, let's look at what our armor is made out of. It's made out of the belt of truth, the breastplate of righteousness, the shield of faith, gospel of peace, the helmet of salvation, the sword of the spirit. Truth, righteousness, faith, peace, these things. This is what keeps us from the enemy, okay? But what about when the enemy is yourself? I am my own worst enemy. This person, she is my worst enemy. Why? Because she knows every move that I make. She knows every thought that I think. She knows every word that comes out of my mouth before it comes out of my mouth. She knows the purpose that I have for my life. She knows the vision that God has given me. She knows the goals that I have, and she knows exactly what I need to do to get there. And she will try to sabotage me, and this flesh that I'm covered in. All right. And so you have to, me is the worst. I am my worst enemy. You are your own worst enemy, right? And so we have to make sure that we're staying prayed up. We have to make sure we're putting on the full armor, and make sure we understand what each part of the armor does for us, how it works in our situation, how each part of our armor works in our situations and in our circumstances and against the enemy. Okay, so being mentally and emotionally and spiritually confident in who you are and whose you are is going to take you very far. And you may have to go, depending on your situation, you may have to go to the extremes in order to remind yourself. You may have to go do more than just telling yourself. You may have to do more than just praying 3 times a day. You may have to do more than just taking a deep breath and counting to 10. You got to do more sometimes. You got to do whatever it takes, right? The enemy is no respecter of time. He doesn't care what time of day it is. He's going to attack you whenever he feels like it. All right. Things happen out of the blue all of a sudden, all of the time. And we know this now more than ever, right? And so we have to stay prepared. We have to go to the extremes in order to do this. Write it on your clothes. We talk about setting our clothes out the night before. I mean, physically write it on your clothes if you have to. I've done this. Some things I've done in life apply. Normal things we do on the daily apply to the spiritual realm. All right. And so I've written as an athlete on my cleats before, I'm great, I'm victorious, or I've written the scripture on it. And that just comes to competing in sports. But we're going through things in life where we need those reminders. We try to get pumped up to do our work. But what do? What extremes do you go to get pumped up to make it through your day, to get pumped up, to keep confidence, to stay confident in God, right? And so writing it on the mirror, writing it on your shoes. I remember in elementary school writing our names and our addresses on our jackets or lunch boxes so that if it's lost, people can return it to the right person. If you got to do that, remind yourself whose you are, so that you can return to who you're supposed to be, return that confidence, instill that confidence again, and you empower yourself again, renew your mind again. Okay, then do it, right? Someone has a shirt I saw the other day that says, if lost, return to Jesus. A lot of us are coming up with clothing now that says scripture on it, that says who we are on there, that's promoting God. If you got to get some of that, if you got to create your own, design your own, do it. Okay. Or you can just write it on your tag. Right. But the whole point is that we got to do what we have to do in order to be successful, in order to remain confident. Hey, I will remain confident that I will see the goodness of the Lord. Okay. In the land of the living. Okay. And so lastly, staying in the presence. I'm going to try to go quick because I know it's almost an hour that we've been talking. All right. And so Psalm 91 explains how we are facing warfare throughout the whole day. I know most of us just know the first verse that says, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. But I encourage you, and I'm going to give you that homework and charge you to read the whole chapter of Psalm 91. Okay, it talks about not fearing the terror of night. And I added some things in there. You will not fear the terror of night, nightmares and night terrors, and evil and wicked thoughts, dreams, or visions, nor the arrow that flies by day. Remember, this is because you are armored up with the shield of faith, nor the pestilence that stalks in the darkness early in the morning or nighttime at midnight, nor the plague that destroys at midday, even in the middle of the day at lunch. All right, nap time, whatever it is you're doing in the middle of the day. All right, because thou hast made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High thy habitation, there shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come near your dwelling. Preparation yields production. Warfare, like I said, can hit at any time of the day. Okay, he, just like that happens though, he prepares and protects us all day long. Right, to see and know this, you have to get prepared by being and staying in his presence. Stay in his face, stay in his will, stay in his word, stay in prayer. Pray without cease. Right? Spend time with him. It's important that you do this, that you stay in his presence, as you can read in Psalm 91. Please go back and read the full chapter. Okay? Before you get physically into bed, I need you to physically enter into his rest. Doesn't this bed just look so nice? At the end of your day, your bed starts looking real nice. It starts looking like a paradise, right? Before you get in that bed, before you get in the bed, pray, seek his face, go to the Father. Okay? Mentally, emotionally, and spiritually enter into his rest. All right? Get into worship. Okay, to get your heart and your mind right before you even begin to pray. Do everything that I just told you to do. Do your brain dump. Okay, remind yourself that you have your armor on and get in the presence and stay in the presence. Get into worship to make sure your heart is postured and you feel at ease to let it all go. Sometimes we prayed with all of this stuff still built up inside of us, inside of our hearts, inside of our minds. All right. And when we get there and pray, we don't know what to say because we have so much going on. Even if it's not at the forefront of your mind, all that blockage that is inside can keep you from being able to focus whenever you're in that intimate setting and trying to have that intimate time with him. All right. Your significant other gets upset if y'all are on a date or trying to spend time together, but your mind is somewhere else. Right. It's the same thing. Be able to get your mind focused and your heart postured on him. Focus on what it is you're trying to do. And it's important, right? Because you don't want to stay where you are. All right. And so what does this look like? This looks like, as I was saying earlier, coming before him, worshiping before him, and being able to really understand who it is that he is and what it is that he's going to do, what it is that he can do for you, who you are to him. Go before him. God, it's me, your daughter. Again, I lay before you, Lord God, all the challenges that I've had to face in my day, all the challenges that I'm facing right now. I lay it at your feet, Lord God. Say the person's name that may be causing you trouble. I lay this person at your feet. I don't know what it is that they're going through right now, Lord God, but I know that you know better than I know. And so I pray for this person. You got to pray for your enemy. You got to pray for your enemy. You got to pray about your circumstances. Don't just come and say, God, I'm going through. God, I'm hitting a financial crisis right now because I lost my job, because I got laid off. God, I feel angry. I feel upset. I know that you know my heart and he knows how you feel. But he wants you to tell him. He wants you to talk to him. He wants you to have that conversation with him. Okay. And like I gave you the example with the people that were in the session with me that actually wrote down how they felt, and they threw the paper just to have that symbol of I've given it all away to him. Hey, Naomi. I've given it all to him. I've given it up. My hands are not on it anymore. I let it go. Right. And so this is important because there are things like depression and anxiety, hate, and unforgiveness, though they may not be called cancer, though they may not be called high blood pressure, though they may not be called diabetes, though they may not be called COVID, though they may not be called the flu, they may not have those names. Those names hang over us, and we know they signify death. But these things cause death as well. Stress is like a heavy weight on your heart. These things can lead to death. So going to sleep, feeling anxiety and depression and stressed out and feeling hateful and angry and in unforgiveness, you may as well be going to sleep in your grave clothes. And I know that sounds morbid, but that is so true. You may as well be going to sleep in your grave clothes. And so it is important, it is imperative to get all of that off of you, to get all of that off of your mind, to get it all out of your heart, because it physically can lead to death. It truly and really can. Okay. So I am just about done. Okay. So in closing, I want you guys to make every effort. I want you to really seriously think. If you got to go back and watch the replay, go back and watch the replay. I want you to seriously think and meditate on everything that was said. Take it to heart. Keep it in your mind. Okay. Make every effort to afford yourself the maximum opportunity at real joy and real success. Okay, refuse to live tomorrow still trying to escape what happened yesterday. All right, it's not easy. It's not. But remember who goes before you, and remember who stands behind you, who's got your back. All right, set your clothes out the night before. Your homework, like I said, is to read the whole chapter of Psalm 91. Meditate on it. Think about what you can do in your day to change your mind, to change your heart. Write down what it is that you need to let go of and let it go. Do the brain dump. Get in his presence. Remind yourself, if you need to go back and read Ephesians chapter 6, please go back and read Ephesians chapter 6. Read the armor of God. Write it down. On Google, you'll find all these great pictures of the armor, okay, and every part of it. Meditate on, okay, the sword of the Spirit. What can I do with this? What is this? The belt of truth, the gospel of peace. What can I do with this word? How can I use it to better my day? How can I use it to clear my mind? How can I use it to create boundaries for my thoughts, for the things that I hear that go inside of my ears, for the things that I see? How can I do it? Meditate on his word night and day, like it says in the word. All right. I will stay a little bit longer for any questions. If you don't have any questions, thank you so much, so much for taking time out, for taking this hour-long time out to spend with me, to listen to what it is that I needed to share with you all, from my heart to yours. I truly love each and every one of you. I am remaining constant in prayer, and I'm praying for you. If there's something that you want me to take with me into my prayer closet, I will do that. If you need help with the brain dump, if you need help with anything that I've said on today, please just message me. You can DM me, or you can refer back to the email. I know I said I was going to put my email back up here and my website back up here for those of you that needed me to. So almost there, promise. All right, so there you go. My email is at the bottom, as well as my website. So for those of you that need to reach out, please do so. I am here, willing and ready to help you in any kind of way that I can. All right. If nothing else, I'm sure I'll probably miss some comments, so I can go back to the live and look and see what I missed and respond to you. Other than that, have a good night. Like I said, I appreciate each and every person for joining in with me on tonight, and I look forward to seeing you next Friday at the same time, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Love you all. Bye-bye.